We begin by talking about the Meme lawyers who tomorrow will be making a call over as far as the strike action is concerned. We have reliable information that they will be suspending the strike for 6 months and monitor the implementation of resolutions arrived at during the crisis. That will make exactly 1 year rather, tomorrow, 11th of October 2017, in which the lawyers had downed their tools. That's remove their wigs and gowns as far as the strike initiated by common law lawyers is concerned. Common law lawyers from Fakla, Mala, Mela, and Nowela. We shall be keeping you updated in our subsequent edition of the news. Meantime, victims of the strike action or the demonstration that took place in the 2 English-speaking regions of the country are now in respective hospitals. They are receiving treatment in the various hospitals. We take you to Fundong, where we can see on our screens there victims of the peaceful demonstration that took place, in which they were met with firearms from security forces. We shall be bringing you the images subsequently or in the course of this newscast. We now take you to talk about the strike action by common law lawyers. Mimimefo in the following report will be telling us how the strike action has lasted for 1 year. 1 year after she caught up with legal mines in the economic capital, Douala, and now compile this report. The report by Mimimefo, which will be coming, we talk about the population of Chang who are still to get out of the shock left behind after the death of a young man. He is said to have died mysteriously. The 16-year-old student of government bilingual high school in Chang, Tayo Gilbert, suffered from a malaise and died minutes after consuming a plate of rice from a neighbor's house. The body of the Form 4 student was later transported to the Chang mortuary, where gendarmes have opened investigations to get into the root cause of the incident. We now take you back to talk about victims of the October 1 strike action who are now responding to treatment in the respective hospitals across the 2 English-speaking regions of the country. You can see on your screen there some of the victims in Fundong who are receiving treatment. Some have their hands amputated as well as their legs. The victims who receive bullets and some of them who were affected by tear gas. It should be noted that October 1 was a day in which the persons in the 2 English-speaking regions of the country will never forget. According to a human rights group, a non-governmental organization, REDAC, over 100 persons died. They have been several figures advanced by the respective bodies. Now, investigations have been opened to uncover the men of the underworld who went to the Mabanda market in Douala 4 municipality. They have been doing their job on a daily basis, emptying stores. Our reporter Innocent Aze visited the Mabanda market and now find this report.
Security in Mabanda market's Douala is known to be growing at an alarming rate. Theft cases are recorded on daily basis. A recent one portrays this woman as victim.
I want open door. I want see lock not there for door. I thought for the mommy say, where mommy, they won't visit me today.
Thieves broke into her shop and emptied its content.
Reject all that rice, everything. Ghana oil, mayo, oleo send it, mayo send it, mayo end it, oleo end it, mayo de minute, savon and carton, saba, le pick for Kasangam and Nef Sangam.
25 bags of rice weighing 50 kilograms each and other goods she bought were carried away by unidentified persons.
Then Jandan and 2 don't come today.
She has reported the matter to the forces of law and order, who have shown concern to dig deep into the case and uncover the criminals. They complain of insecurity despite huge sums of money paid to authorities to guide the market at night.
The security not there, and I be paying, but then on the 10th, somebody will come and pack a car and pack
break into a trader's shop and pack away things inside without any guard seeing. That thing must have taken about 45 minutes, 1 hour to do that work. But we start asking what must have happened, that guards were not there to see what happened.
According to the Mabanda Trade Union president, authorities have paid deaf ears to their pleas for assistance.
Maybe because we are at the field, maybe they think by working with us they will get other information that can stop them from having what they are having. That is what we think.
Traders have decided they will not cease from whispering in the eardrums of council and market authorities till appropriate measures are taken into account to ensure security reigns in the markets.
5 decades after independence, it is now that Cameroon is thinking of formulating a housing policy. Housing and urban development experts are meeting in Yaoundé to design a housing policy for Cameroon. Roland Akon says that the housing policy might meet with some disadvantages and some stumbling blocks. His report.
Government is now considering a housing policy as a possible solution to the housing problems in Cameroon. That is the objective of a meeting in Yaoundé Tuesday, grouping urban and housing experts, a meeting chaired by Jean-Claude Bouenchu, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development.
Is to plan and write the new policy in housing. Housing is not only lodgement, it's also sanitation. It's also how you can work in a town. That is the best objective of this workshop.
The challenges of housing in terms of quality and quantity are rising in Cameroon. From a situational analysis showing the nature and extent of housing problems in Cameroon, one can already guess on some of the recommendations.
We have been building homes, but we have not had until now a housing policy. There are at least 5 pillars. The first one is access to land. We need to mobilize more funds to build houses. And we also need to develop our construction industry, which comprise professionals, manufacturers, and contractors.
Unplanned development, improper maintenance of existing structures are some of the housing challenges the housing policy will check in some towns in Cameroon.
This period where we have a university center in Kumba, that area there will be a new layout in those areas, and from this new layouts we shall now want the Maïtu, the Credit Foncier, the FECOM to come in to restructure the housing program in Kumba.
Housing is a crucial basic need of every human being, just like food and clothing. It is even considered as one of the best indicators of a person's standard of living and his place in the society.
Why has the government been unable to put an end to the Anglophone crisis? It is now 12 months on since lawyers down their tools, that is removing their wigs and gowns for a strike action as they demanded for the strict respect of the bi-juro system of Cameroon. Mimimefo caught up with some lawyers who say the Anglophone crisis now that the deadlock continues. However, their views is not shared by many. Harry Potter.
October 2016, the grievances nursed by common law lawyers for decades exploded. The men in black in English-speaking regions stormed streets in different parts of Anglophone Cameroon to demand for the restoration of common law values as enshrined in the constitution of the country. 1 year after, opinions are divided over government's efforts to address the crisis. In a chat with a Douala-based common law lawyer, Barrister Ashu Julius, and Barrister Joseph Claude Biliga of the civil law jurisdiction, they said that majority of issues raised have been sorted out and added that court activities have effectively resumed.
I feel a little bit relieved because almost every issue that the lawyers were asking has been sorted out by the government. And the first issue was translation of the Ohio Treaty, the Uniform Acts of the Ohio Treaty, which has been done. The second issue was the movement of judicial personnel. Thirdly, when it comes to education, the same thing has happened.
Their views are contradicted by Barrister Watson Akambo, whom we contacted on phone.
Lawyers have not returned to court. The court are still there without lawyers. And so my evaluation at the moment is that the strike is still instead working very strong and stronger even. The main issue that the lawyers have been fighting, revendicating, is about the complete erosion of the common law. I want to recall to you that Cameroon is a bi-jural state with two legal systems. Why did they wait only for the lawyer to go to street before they started implementing these things?
The lawyers were equally not on common terms as to why the deadlock has continued to prevail, despite the series of solutions provided by the government of Cameroon. Barrister Ashu Julius cited two reasons. He said that the ad hoc committee put in place by the government was a mistake, and added that it is also dragging on because extremists have hijacked, the crisis.
We realize that some extremists have taken over the strike, and they've spilled over from purely sectoral requests into the political arena.
To Barrister Joseph Claude Biliga, failure to release all the detainees of the Anglophone crisis like Manchu, BBC and Co. is to blame.
Il y a certains qui ont été libérés. Il y a une personne comme BBC.
Barrister Watson Akumbo, on his part, said that the problem is beyond common law values and that meaningful dialogue is the ultimate solution.
Positional dialogue. Positional means that you come with a pre-prepared agenda to impose on one of the parties. No. Dialogue means we look at each on eye to eye and tell each other the truth. And we put all the issues on the table and we address them appropriately. Not that the government should come with a pre-agenda and impose on lawyers. No.
As legal minds continue to call for peace and non-violence, Barrister Julius Ashu has declared that only the government has the final solution to the current crisis which has crumbled a greater part of the judicial corps in Cameroon.
The government knows what the problem is, so just solve it. Solve it. The main issue here is decentralization should be effective.
That was Mimi Mefo with the report of the day, talking about 1 year on now since the strike action was launched by common law lawyers in Cameroon. It was launched on the 11th of October. There were a series of meetings on the 11th of October 2016. They went on streets of Boya and later on Bamenda and other parts of the two English-speaking regions of the country. My guest tonight is a legal mind, Senior Barrister Frujon. So with him, we shall be looking at the strike action of the common law lawyers. Will it be time to make a call over like lawyers of Meme Division? We shall be right back in the second part of this news. Meantime, students at the Faculty of Health Sciences in the University of Boya have been received officially. These are freshmen who have been received for years of training in that faculty. Derek Jato took part in that ceremony and now find this report from Boya.
In Cameroon, the patient-doctor ratio is 1:40,000 according to the World Health Organization statistics. And today at Dorothy Njoma's Amphitheater on the campus of the University of Boya, the graduating ceremony of medical students among 83 medical doctors, 33 senior nurses, and 29 senior medical lab scientists is ongoing. Professor Aku Edward Oben, Pro-Chancellor of the University of Boya, while congratulating the graduating medical students, also painted to them the picture of the society they will be moving into to save lives.
The message I have for them is that they are now moving into a new space as professional workers. The nation comes starting a lot to them. Governments and their parents and their families have sacrificed a lot to give them this excellent training. I hope that the presence of the change will make a difference in terms of healthcare in Cameroon.
baptized and christened the Badge of Excellence. Professor Ngowe Maxalen, Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences, during his address, called on these medical students to be true ambassadors of the University of Boya.
It was a graduating ceremony, how we wanted to send them back, yes, to the classroom. Thank you for that report, Derek Jato. Graduating ceremony of students from the Faculty of Health Sciences in the University of Boya. That takes us to news out of Cameroon now. There were 20 of them, 20 candidates who want to replace Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We're talking about the Liberian presidential elections. The election has ended. Our reporter Catherine Kone tells us that the results would not be made known in 48 hours, as was the case before. It will be on the 25th of October.
Liberians are in the polls Tuesday to elect a new president and legislators that will mark the country's first peaceful democratic handover of power since 1944. 20 candidates are in a race to replace President Ellen Johnson, while almost 100 candidates are competing for legislative seats. One candidate, Charles Bromskin, the leader of Liberty Party, and other contestants, Benoni Hure, a businessman, George Weah, former footballer who was defeated by Ellen Johnson in 2015 presidential elections. Also, the current Vice President, Joseph Boakai, who says being a president will give him the authority to demonstrate his leadership. Alexander Kunis is also a candidate who is just into politics in Liberia with the Alternative National Progressive Party, among others. They are all running for the country's top seat with 2.2 million voters registered in the small country of 4.6 million people. The provincial results are expected within 48 hours, but the electoral body has until October 25th to issue the results.
My guest tonight is Senior Barrister Fru Johnson. Meet my guest and I in a jiffy. Welcome to join me and my guest in the second segment of this news. Senior Barrister, good evening.
Good evening, Hansen.
You are a member of the Cameroon Bar Council. Now, the common law lawyers launched a strike action on the 11th of October 2016. 11th October, that will be tomorrow, 2017. 1 year on. Did you expect the strike to be 1 year old now?
Well, I did not expect that, but before I answer that question, I'd like to put out my sympathy for my colleagues in the Northwest and Southwest who have made no money for the last 1 year, who have not practiced their profession for the last 1 year. And it has been a serious sacrifice, and I'd like to congratulate them for sacrificing for the rest of us. At the same time, I also want to say that if common law lawyers want to suspend the strike, they should do it as a collective unit, not one division talking about going to work and others watching. So I think since it was a collective action is required for all of us to get back to work. And that is the only comment I have. But before I said I'd like to correct something, I am not a member of the Bar Council. I am a member of the Bar. The Bar Council is the 15 people who were elected. Yes.
Yes. So, yes, tell us.
So all I was saying is that I have just heard in the news rip that Meme lawyers are going to have a call over and to resume work for 6 months. Well, why that is their right, but I want to think that politically it's unwise because their president is not in the country. He ran away because of the persecution. The other parts of the country, of the Northwest and Southwest, that is the lawyers of the Northwest, the lawyers of the Southwest, and if you look at them, in the Southwest you have several divisions, FACO, that's FACLA, and others.
Mala, Mela.
Mala, Niela, all those, they should have a concerted action to when to stop and start work. For Meme alone to be doing that, it's unwise. But I have no lessons to teach them because some will argue that, and they are right, that I have been working here in Douala when they are suffering. And I'm very sorry about that. It's because I happen to have been licensed to practice only in Douala. To practice in Douala. I have not done any case in the Northwest or Southwest since this thing started, because I want to respect what they are doing. Now, for me to hear that Meme lawyers alone are going to start up, make a call over, and go to work without consulting with the rest of the common lawyers from the Northwest and Southwest.
Yeah, they want to suspend the strike for 6 months.
Yeah, they are suspending the strike.
And monitor how the implementation of the resolutions arrived at during the crisis meeting would be.
I think it should be a meeting of all the presidents of the associations, from FACLA to Meme lawyers to Manu lawyers to Mezam lawyers, Noela, and all that. They were supposed to have concerted and start as a unit, because if I understand BOBGA, they have a common law lawyers association now. So why would Meme alone suspend the strike? I'm not questioning it. Is their right, but I would think that politically it's unwise.
So in the absence of the president, that's Barrister Eyambe,
yes,
life cannot go on.
Life.
Katu, the
Yes.
Cameroon Teachers Trade Union.
I remember.
Replace.
I remember. I am not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it should be a concerted action of all the common law lawyers in the Northwest and Southwest. Well, you cannot be counting us here as common law lawyers in this context. But they should concert and start work as a group. But when they start going, this one says he wants to start work tomorrow, the other one says he wants to start work the other day, and so on and so on. It gives an impression that they were not together when they started this whole thing. This whole thing that the population has taken over is now a political issue. They should respect the population, and if they want to do anything, they should do it as a group, not in splinter groups.
Okay.
That is the way.
Now let's come back to what I asked you. Did you expect this strike action to reach at this level?
I did not, and that's why I congratulated them to have gotten to this level. I thought that the government by now would have solved the political issue, but the government decided not to solve the political issue.
So you think the solution is political?
It has. The moment the consortium was arrested and locked up, it became a political issue.
Meanwhile, the lawyers were just demanding for the respect of the Bajuro system.
They were asking for the respect of the Bajuro system.
Now, why
the teachers were also asking for their own. And they came together in a consortium and formed a consortium. And once they were arrested, because the negotiations were not going the way the government wanted, they arrested them and disbanded all of them. It is not, we did not expect that by now the government would not have come forth so that this matter should be laid to rest. The way things are now, I don't know where we are going right now, quite frankly.
So, but if they were to ask you your own opinion, should Fakla, Mala, and Noela join Mela to resume work and make a call over monitor for 6 months?
That call will not be mine. It is their call.
I mean, your own personal opinion.
Yeah, my opinion is that they have suffered enough.
Yes.
They have suffered enough. If they want to come back to work together, they should come back as a whole, as all the common law lawyers. They should not come in splinter groups as if there's something wrong with what they started in Bamenda, came and held a meeting in Kumba, and work together as a team. It is unwise that one division is going to start work while the others are watching. It creates some kind of friction. So I was thinking that I have no lessons to teach them, but I'm just thinking that as common law lawyers, all of them should have decided to come back to work. It's not a question of one division deciding to do what they want to do.
Barrister Fujo, so you want to confirm to us that the problem now is no more about respecting the Bajura system?
No, the Bajura system, the issue still remains. All that is engulfed in the political, it becomes a political issue for the whole of the Northwest and Southwest province. It is now a political issue. No lawyer, no teacher has any more say in this issue except as a citizen of the Northwest and Southwest.
So how can this political issue be resolved? If problems
I have been hearing from the United Nations, I've heard from African Union, I've heard from United States, I've heard from all the whole world saying that there should be dialogue. They say the Commonwealth, they are calling for dialogue. And if dialogue can solve the problem, be it. But I don't know who is going to initiate that dialogue. Can you imagine that one part of the country was burning and the head of state was not here? The number of people that have been killed in the Northwest and Southwest, the head of state is still not here. Where is he? What is happening to this country? How can he, the guarantor of the sovereignty of Cameroon, be away why these kind of things are happening?
No, but the communication boss said the president is everywhere. So there's no need asking.
I'm not going to enter into what the communication boss says or did not say. But all I'm saying is that Cameroonians would have loved to see their president address them before or after this issue. Look at the number of lives we have lost. Do you think that it will make it easy for this dialogue?
Wrote a Facebook message. He wrote a Facebook message to Cameroonians. If we have been seeing Trump very active on Twitter and is taken into consideration by media houses and the people.
Trump is active on Twitter and is also talking to the people, the American people. Facebook alone will not talk to Cameroonians. Here, I've never heard the head of state talk on Facebook. Why now? So it means that the Anglophone issue is not an important issue as far as he's concerned. Otherwise, no matter the situation, he should have been here. He should have addressed this nation, even from wherever he is. Let's see him talk about the nation. He hasn't. For 11 months, he has said nothing about this issue.
Not even what he said in December. You remember
what he said in December was an end of year talk. From December till now, how many months? He has not made a single statement on this issue. But we can only see how soldiers are shooting and killing unarmed people. There's a war of figures now. How many have been killed? I don't care what the figure is, but I know that somehow people were massacred, and okay. and the law must be brought to bear on what happened.
Okay, Barrister, before we go, who should be on the dialogue table?
What do you mean who should be?
On the part of the people of the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon.
Well,
who and what should be on the dialogue?
Let me break it down to you. The consortium was broken into two. One part escaped out of the country, and one part is here. For any dialogue to be constituted, those people who escaped out of here must be part of that consortium, the original consortium.
What about the secessionists who have?
Hold on. I don't know who you call secessionist. I don't know anybody who is secessionist. I don't know why this hate language.
They have been
branding. They have been branding. It is hate language. This is exactly what happened in Rwanda. People have concocted some kind of hate language.
So today you will not call Siseko Ayoktabe a secessionist?
Ayoktabe is the head of the governing council. That's what I hear. And he is very important now because he was able to mobilize the Northwest and Southwest. If one person can mobilize, if a group can mobilize the whole of Northwest and Southwest to come out on the 22nd of February and on 1st of October, that person is important. Let nobody tell me that there was no leader when those two events took place. So they must be part of the solution. They must be part of the solution. If you leave them out, you have not solved the problem. That is conflict. That is simple conflict resolution. You cannot solve a problem by taking one part of the people and leaving the other part.
All right. Okay.
That is my opinion, and I think that there is no even after war, people still sit down and talk and arrive at something.
All right. Okay. That's your opinion?
That's my opinion.
Okay. Thank you very much, Senior Barrister Fruit Johnson.
Thank you very much.
Member of the Cameroon Bar.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure being with you. Equally in this day's edition of the Newsday 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television. Thanks for watching. Good night.
For Kasangam and Nefsangam for Ampudro.
25 bags of rice weighing 50 kilograms each and other goods she bought were carried away by unidentified persons.
Then Jandan and two don't come today. They come
She has reported the matter to the forces of law and order, who have shown concern to dig deep into the case and uncover the criminals. They complain of insecurity despite huge sums of money paid to authorities to guide the market at night.
The security not there, and I be paying that then on the 10th. Somebody will come and pack a car and pack and break into a trader shop and pack away things inside without any guard seen. That thing must have taken about 45 minutes, 1 hour to do that work. But we start asking what must have happened, that guards were not there to see what happened.
According to the Mabanda Trade Union president, authorities have paid deaf ears to their pleas for assistance.
Maybe because we are at the field, maybe they think by working with us they will get other information that can stop them from having what they are having. That is what we think.
Traders have decided they will not cease from whispering in the eardrums of council and market authorities till appropriate measures are taken into account to ensure security reigns in the markets.
5 decades after independence, it is now that Cameroon is thinking of formulating a housing policy. Housing and urban development experts are meeting in Yaoundé to design a housing policy for Cameroon. Roland Akon says that the housing policy might meet with some disadvantages and some stumbling blocks. His report.
Government is now considering a housing policy as a possible solution to the housing problems in Cameroon. That is the objective of a meeting in Yaoundé Tuesday, grouping urban and housing experts, a meeting chaired by Jean-Claude Boinchou, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development.
Is to plan and write the new policy in housing. Housing is not only lodgement, it's also sanitation. Is also how you can work in a town. That is the best objective of this workshop.
The challenges of housing in terms of quality and quantity are rising in Cameroon. From a situational analysis showing the nature and extent of housing problems in Cameroon, one can already guess on some of the recommendations.
We have been building homes, but we have not had until now a housing policy. There are at least 5 pillars. The first one is access to land. We need to mobilize more funds to build houses. And we also need to develop our construction industry, which comprise professionals, manufacturers, and contractors.
Unplanned development, improper maintenance of existing structures are some of the housing challenges the housing policy will check in some towns in Cameroon.
This period where we have a university center in Kumba, that area there will be a new layout in those areas, and from this new layouts we shall now want the Maïtu, the Credit Foncier, the FECOM to come in to restructure the housing program in Kumba.
Housing is a crucial basic need of every human being, just like food.
Until October 25th to issue the results.
Our guest tonight is Senior Barrister Fruit Johnson. Meet my guest and I in a jiffy. Welcome to join me and my guest in the second segment of this news. Senior Barrister, good evening.
Good evening, Hansen.
You are a member of the Cameroon Bar Council. Now, the common law lawyers launched a strike action on the 11th of October 2016. 11th October, that will be tomorrow, 2017, 1 year on. Did you expect the strike to be 1 year old now?
Well, I did not expect that, but before I answer that question, I'd like to put out my sympathy for my colleagues in the Northwest and Southwest who have made no money for the last 1 year, who have not practiced their profession for the last 1 year. And it has been a serious sacrifice, and I'd like to congratulate them for sacrificing for the rest of us. At the same time, I also want to say that if common law lawyers want to suspend the strike, they should do it as a collective unit, not one division talking about going to work and others watching. So I think since it was a collective action is required for all of us to get back to work. And that is the only comment I have. But before I said, I'd like to correct something. I am not a member of the Bar Council. I am a member of the Bar. The Bar Council is the 15 people who were elected. Yes.
Yes. So, yes, tell us.
So all I was saying is that I have just heard in the newsreel that Meme lawyers are going to have a call over and to resume work for 6 months. Well, why that is their right, but I want to think that politically it's unwise because their president is not in the country. He ran away because of the persecution. The other parts of the country, of the Northwest and Southwest, that is the lawyers of the Northwest, the lawyers of the Southwest, and if you look at them, in the Southwest you have several divisions, FACO, that's FACLA, and others.
Mala, Mela.
Mala, Niela, all those, they should have a concerted action to when to stop and start work. For Meme alone to be doing that, it's unwise. But I have no lesson to teach them because some will argue that, and they are right, that I have been working here in Douala when they are suffering. And I'm very sorry about that. It's because I happen to have been licensed to practice only in Douala. To practice in Douala. I have not done any case in the Northwest or Southwest since this thing started. Because I want to respect what they are doing. Now, for me to hear that Meme lawyers alone are going to start up, make a call over and go to work without consulting with the rest of the common lawyers from the Northwest and Southwest.
Yeah, they want to suspend the strike for 6 months.
Yeah, they are suspending the strike.
And monitor how the implementation of the resolutions arrived at during the crisis meeting would be. I
think it should be a meeting of all the presidents of the associations from FACLA to Meme lawyers to Manu lawyers to Mezam lawyers, Noela, and all that. They were supposed to have concerted and start as a unit. Because if I understand Bobga, they have a common law lawyers association now. So why would Meme alone?
We begin by talking about the Meme lawyers who tomorrow will be making a call over. As far as the strike action is concerned, we have reliable information that they will be suspending the strike for 6 months and monitor the implementation of resolutions arrived at during the crisis. That will make exactly 1 year rather, tomorrow, 11th of October 2017, in which the lawyers had down their tools. That's remove their wigs and gowns as far as the strike initiated by common law lawyers is concerned. Common law lawyers from FACLA, Mala, Mela, and Noela. We shall be keeping you updated in our subsequent edition of the news. Meantime, victims of the strike action or the demonstration that took place in the 2 English-speaking regions of the country are now in respective hospitals. They are receiving treatment in the various hospitals. We take you to Fundong, where we can see on our screens there victims of the peaceful demonstration that took place, in which they were met with firearms from security forces. We shall be bringing you the images subsequently or in the course of this newscast. We now take you to talk about the strike action by common law lawyers. Mimimefo in the following report will be telling us how the strike action has lasted for 1 year. 1 year after she caught up with legal minds in the economic capital, Douala, and now compile this report. The report by Mimimefo, which will be coming, we talk about the population of Chang who are still to get out of the shock left behind after the death of a young man. He is said to have died mysteriously. The 16-year-old student of Government Bilingual High School in Chang, Tayo Gilbert, suffered from a malaise and died minutes after consuming a plate of rice from a neighbor's house. The body of the Form 4 student was later transported to the Chang mortuary, while gendarmes have opened investigations to get into the root cause of the incident. We now take you back to talk about victims of the October 1 strike action who are now responding to treatment in the respective hospitals across the two English-speaking regions of the country. You can see on your screen there some of the victims in Fundong who are receiving treatment. Some have their hands amputated as well as their legs. The victims who receive bullets and some of them who were affected by tear gas. It should be noted that October 1 was a day in which the persons in the two English-speaking regions of the country will never forget. According to a human rights group, a non-governmental organization, REDAC, over 100 persons died. They have been several figures advanced by the respective bodies. Now, investigations have been opened to uncover the men of the underworld who went to the Mabanda market in Douala 4 municipality. They have been doing their job on a daily basis, emptying stores. Our reporter Innocent Aze visited the Mabanda market and now find this report.
Security in Mabanda market's Douala is known to be growing at an alarming rate. Theft cases are recorded on daily basis. A recent one portrays this woman as victim.
I want open door. I want see lock not there for door. I thought for the mommy say, well, mommy, they won't visit me today.
Thieves broke into her shop and emptied its contents.
They get all the rice, everything. Gaba oil, mayo, olio send mayo send mayo end olio end mayo de minute, savon and carton, saba,
Talking about 1 year on now since the strike action was launched by common law lawyers in Cameroon. It was launched on the 11th of October. There were a series of meetings on the 11th of October 2016. They went on streets of Boya and later on Bamenda and other parts of the two English-speaking regions of the country. My guest tonight is a legal mind, senior barrister Fru John Saw. With him, we shall be looking at the strike action of the common law lawyers. Will it be time to make a call over like lawyers of Meme Division? We shall be right back in the second part of this news. Meantime, students at the Faculty of Health Sciences in the University of Boya have been received officially. These are freshmen who have been received for years of training in that faculty. Derek Jato took part in that ceremony and now find this report from Boya.
In Cameroon, the patient-doctor ratio is 1:40,000 according to the World Health Organization statistics. And today at Dorothy Njoma's Amphitheater on the campus of the University of Boya, the graduating ceremony of medical students among 83 medical doctors, 33 senior nurses, and 29 senior medical lab scientists is ongoing. Professor Aku Edward Oben, Pro-Chancellor of the University of Boya, while congratulating the graduating medical students, also painted to them the picture of the society they will be moving into to save lives.
The message I have for them is that they are now moving into a new space. as professional workers. The nation counts 40 children. That means on their parents and their families have sacrificed a lot to give them this excellent training. We hope that the presence of the tools will make a difference in terms of healthcare in Cameroon.
Baptized and Christian the Badge of Excellence, Professor Ngowe Maxalen, Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences, during his address, called on these medical students to be true ambassadors of the University of Boya.
It was a graduating ceremony, how we wanted to send them back, yes, to the classroom. Thank you for that report, Derek Jato. Graduating ceremony of students from the Faculty of Health Sciences in the University of Boya. That takes us to news out of Cameroon now. There were 20 of them, 20 candidates who want to replace Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We're talking about the Liberian presidential elections. The election has ended. Our reporter Catherine Kone tells us that the results would not be made known in 48 hours, as was the case before. It will be on the 25th of October.
Liberians are in the polls Tuesday to elect a new president and legislators that will mark the country's first peaceful democratic handover of power since 1944. 20 candidates are in a race to replace President Ellen Johnson, while almost 100 candidates are competing for legislative seats. One candidate, Charles Bromskin, the leader of Liberty Party, and other contestants, Benoni Hure, a businessman, George Weah, former footballer who was defeated by Ellen Johnson in 2015 presidential elections. Also, the current Vice President, Joseph Boakai, who says being a president will give him the authority to demonstrate his leadership. Alexander Kunis is also a candidate who is just into politics in Liberia with the Alternative National Progressive Party, among others. They are all running for the country's top seat, with 2.2 million voters registered in the small country of 4.6 million people. The provincial results are expected within 48 hours, but the electoral body has...
Food and clothing. It is even considered as one of the best indicators of a person's standard of living and his place in the society.
Why has the government been unable to put an end to the Anglophone crisis? It is now 12 months on since lawyers down their tools, that is removing their wigs and gowns for a strike action as they demanded for the strict respect of the bi-juro system of Cameroon. Mimimefo caught up with some lawyers who say the Anglophone crisis now, that the deadlock continues. However, their views is not shared by many. Harry Potter.
October 2016, the grievances nursed by common law lawyers for decades exploded. The men in black in English-speaking regions stormed streets in different parts of Anglophone Cameroon to demand for the restoration of common law values as enshrined in the constitution of the country. 1 year after, opinions are divided over government's efforts to address the crisis. In a chat with a Douala-based common law lawyer, Barrister Ashu Julius, and Barrister Joseph Claude Biliga of the civil law jurisdiction, they said that majority of issues raised have been sorted out, and added that court activities have effectively resumed.
I feel a little bit relieved because almost every issue that the lawyers were asking has been sorted out by the government. And the first issue was translation of the Ohada Treaty, the Uniform Acts of the Ohada Treaty, which has been done. The second issue was the movement of judicial personnel. Thirdly, when it comes to education, the same thing has happened.
Their views are contradicted by Barrister Watson Akambo, whom we contacted on phone.
Lawyers have not returned to court. The court are still there without lawyers. And so my evaluation at the moment is that the strike is instead working very strong and stronger even. The main issue that the lawyers have been fighting, revendicating, is about the complete erosion of the common law. I want to recall to you that Cameroon is a bi-jural state with two legal systems. Why did they wait only for the lawyer to go to street before they started implementing these things?
The lawyers were equally not on common terms as to why the deadlock has continued to prevail, despite the series of solutions provided by the government of Cameroon. Barrister Ashu Jilo cited two reasons. He said that the ad hoc committee put in place by the government was a mistake and added that it is also dragging on because extremists have hijacked the crisis.
We realize that some extremists have taken over the strike, and they've spilled over from purely sectoral requests into the political area.
To Barrister Joseph Claude Biliga, failure to release all the detainees of the Anglophone crisis like Manchu, BBC and Co. is to blame.
Il y a certains qui ont été libérés. Il y a une personne comme BBC.
Barrister Watson Akumbo, on his part, said that the problem is beyond common law values and that meaningful dialogue is the ultimate solution.
Positional dialogue. Positional means that you come with a pre-prepared agenda to impose on one of the parties. No. Dialogue means we look at each on eye to eye and tell each other the truth. And we put all the issues on table and we address them appropriately. Not that the government should come with a pre-agenda and impose on lawyers. No.
As legal minds continue to call for peace and non-violence, Barrister Julius Ashu has declared that only the government has the final solution to the current crisis which has crumbled a greater part of the judicial corps in Cameroon.
The government knows where the problem is, so just solve it. Solve it. The main issue here is decentralization should be effective.
That was Mimi Mefo with the report of the day.